Okay, so in order to digitize a feature on a map, the first thing you need to do is load the grid that you want to digitize from. And very important here to use a grid and not a map, because in some instances you can actually by accident change the coordinates if you're loading multiple grids in different regions of a map. So rather just go to the original grid. So you can see on my left here I've got grids. I'm opening up, this is my geology grid, and let's assume that I want to digitize a road here. It's most likely you're going to want to digitize faults, but let's for this example use this road. And you can actually find this grid on Google Drive, but you can also do the same with your grid. You don't have to use mine. And so the first step is to open a database. So go database, new database, check where it's saving it. I'm going to go into the folder that I know I'll be able to find later, or create a folder. And I'm going to change the name of it, so something that you can find. I'm going to call it Digitise Road. And click Save. You can see it's added the name there. You can leave the rest default, click on OK. And the database opens up. So now I want to view my database next to my grid. So I go Window, Tile Vertically. And so now I actually want to digitize this road going down. And how I do that is I go Grid and Image, Utilities, Grid Profile. So literally I'm going to grid a profile along my map. It's going to give me the X and Y coordinates in the database. So I click on Grid Profile. You can also extract grid values, so not just X and Y, but also Z values. This isn't so important to me, but if you wanted to, you could choose your grid to do this from. So let's, for example, say I want to determine the gravity values along this road. You can do it for multiple grids. New line name, you can use whatever value you want. I'm just going to put 0. And then sample interval is how the distance between your station spacings, or that it's going to output. You don't want this to be too small, otherwise you're going to have a very big database, but you also don't want it to be too large, and then you've got a very jagged line. And it's in map units, so my map you can see at the bottom here is in UTM-35, so I'm just going to say 1,000 meters, probably even too small. I'm going to say 10,000. Let's see what it looks like. And then from this pull down list here, make sure it does say digitize from map. Click on OK. Now it tells you enter points on the profile, right click when done, escape to cancel. So what that means is you click OK, and now I click along my line. I start the first one. You can see it joins a line. I keep on left clicking, and you can go down and you can determine how accurate you want to be. Maybe you want to be a lot more accurate. Then what I do is I right click and I click on here, zoom in. Don't click on anything else, or else you'll lose what you've digitized already. So just straight away right click, go zoom in. It's zoomed for you. You can see it's kept your digitizing line going, and I can go carry on along this road, and I'm going down. You can see I'm not being super accurate. You could be a lot more accurate if you want. When I get to the bottom here, I'm still going to right click again. Don't click on anything else. Right click, go pan, and that allows you to drag up if you want. And I'll keep on going. I'm just going to go to the bottom of my map here. I get to the end, and now I right click, I go done, and you can see it's actually put X and Y values of this road into the database, and it's given gravity values. The fact that nothing has shown up here makes me think I must have clicked on the wrong grid, because it should populate this with gravity values, or maybe my gravity grid doesn't have the correct coordinates defined, or doesn't have coordinates defined. Okay, I'm just going to zoom out here by clicking the world map. So I've got X and Y values, and now we just need to make sure that the coordinate system is defined correctly for these X and Y values. So go coordinate, go coordinate system. It's already selected X and Y. Click on coordinate system, and we know from our map that it was in UTM-35, so it's already picked that up, WGS-84 UTM-35. Make sure yours is correct. Click OK. And now I want to plot this back on my map to check it's correct. So I go Map Tools, Line Path, so it's going to plot the line. This is the color of the line, line thickness. Label size, it will actually label your line. I don't want this, so you can actually click on, I think, yeah, label location, click on none, and it won't actually draw a label for you. You can play around with the other parameters, click on OK. It tells you the map scale, you don't have to change this, click OK, and you can see it's plotted it for me on the map. And that's how you could digitize a line. So now let's say, for example, you want to do a second road or a second fault. Instead of starting up a new database, let's just put it in a different line. So you can see up here, if I put my mouse on this blue block that says S0, I right click, I go to list. It's currently telling me there's only one line in this database. Well, we can make another one. So let's go grid and image, utilities, grid profile. And I'm going to use the same map here, but I'm going to change my line number to number 1. I'm going to click on OK and OK again, and I'm going to just do a very coarse digitizing. You can take more time if you need to. I'm going to go along here. There we are. Right click, done. Okay, and what you can see here, is that it's actually added S1 to your database. So if I right click on top and I go to list, these are my 2 lines. And the nice thing now is that if I go map image line profile and I plot it, you can see both of them are plotted, and because they're loaded as separate lines in this database, they're not connected. If you had loaded S1 in the database and then directly underneath it you had carried on with the data for S0, there would have been a line connecting S1 and S0. But now because they're loaded here as separate lines, it plots them as separate lines. Now, for example, say I want to see where these plot on my gravity data. So now I'm going to go down here and I'm going to open my gravity data. This is my grid. I'm going to put my mouse on top of it. So now I can either plot them on here. So what that would mean is that I click on Map Tools, Line Path, OK, and OK. Oh, and it's plotted them. I think this is our problem. Something is wrong about where it is. And so it hasn't plotted because there is a problem. But now a way I could check what's wrong is I'm going to, in my left-hand Group Manager tools here, I'm going to click on my AGG Gravity with the grid, and I'm going to drag it onto this geology map. I'm going to release it. And now let's see where it's plotted, because that'll give us an idea of what's wrong. And then zoom out. Okay, and so this geology map doesn't exactly overlay where my gravity is. Sorry, I thought they were in the same project. And so this is a nice way of being able to view where your different grids are. And you can see in this map Group Manager tools up here, it's listing my gravity grid as well as my geology grid. And so that's allowing you to see the 2 grids together. And yeah, so that's how you digitize some lines, and you can do it for multiple faults.